Blood West is basically a single-player version of Hunt Showdown. Unlike that game, though, you don't have to worry about people who are infinitely better at the game than you shoving your face in the dirt and reminding you how bad you are at video games. The NPCs will do that instead. Set in a vaguely defined region of the American West known as the Barren Lands, you play as an undead cowboy on a mission to do something for someone that is supposed to reach some goal. At your disposal is an enormous variety of different weapons, abilities, and strategies which you can take advantage of to accomplish your goals, or at least attempt to accomplish. Since this is a more recent title, I feel obligated to put a spoiler warning here at the start of the video, since this is going to be a deep dive into my own personal experience with everything this game had to offer. It was a long trek out west, filled with obstacles and danger. Whether it be dysentery, dehydration, or demons, there's no shortage of things trying to kill you once you cross the Mississippi. So if you feel up to it, join me as I venture into the... If you're a fan of first-person shooters, then the last few years have been pretty good. Back in 2016, the reboot of Doom really kicked off a full-scale revival of the genre, which had been floundering for years, trapped in a seemingly endless cycle of Call of Duty-induced stagnation. One thing that's been so great about this wave of retro FPS revival titles, or boomer shooters as they're more commonly called, is that while there's plenty of them that pay homage to the classics through attempts to replicate the experience of something like Doom or Quake, others are a bit more ambitious. Even back in the late 90s to early 2000s, game devs had already begun to experiment with the conventions of the genre. While trying to just copy whatever the most successful guy is doing may seem like an easy road to infinite wealth, sometimes attempts at innovation and experimentation can lead to even greater recognition. As more and more games came out emulating the fast-paced, hyper-violent style of the id Software and 3D Realms classics, other games began to play around with differing approaches to the genre. Blood West takes after these games. You could categorize it as a boomer shooter due to its retro-style graphics, emphasis on story over gameplay, just kidding, I actually mean the reverse of that, and high difficulty. But a lot of people who discuss this game prefer to call it something else entirely, an immersive sim. For those of you who don't know what an immersive sim is, allow me to give you an answer. I have no fucking idea either. Immersive sim is a genre descriptor that has always seemed slightly nebulous to me. I get why it exists. It's a fairly easy way to group together a handful of games that share some design principles in common, but the term just seems kind of imprecise and obtuse. It's also fairly recent. Most of the games that get called imsims nowadays were called something completely different like 8 years ago. As far as I can tell, it took off on Twitter after a bunch of people found some old Warren Spector interview from like 20 years ago where he uses the term to refer to several of the games he's worked on. In terms of an actual definition, to my knowledge, a game is defined as an immersive sim if it has an emphasis on open-ended design that allows the player to find solutions to in-game problems or methods of progression that vary considerably from one another and often result in playstyles and strategies that the developers may not have intended to be present. If your response to that is to say that that criteria could apply to any number of games, including games that people will swear up and down are not immersive sims, then I'm right there with you. Despite how much I've memed on it the past few minutes, I don't actually think it's useless terminology, and I think it can serve as an easy shorthand to refer to a loose group of games united by some common design principles. The only thing that really annoys me is the endless debate about what is and isn't imsim. If you're a film person, it's kind of like the never-ending argument about which films are or are not film noir, or if you're into music, what is and isn't metal. For me, I just boil it down to a simple if-then statement. Is the game like Deus Ex? If yes, then it's an immersive sim. If no, then it's not. With that 2-page disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about the actual fucking subject of this video now. So Blood West is a first-person shooter with role-playing elements set in a weird west world where some asshole did some thing with cursed gold in a mine or whatever, and now shit's all fucked up and you're an undead gunslinger with an ambiguous past who's gotta set all these assholes straight. I've been following this game for a while, and I picked it up when it came out pretty much immediately. I like horror, I like westerns, I like shooters, I like Deus Ex, so this game ticked a lot of boxes for me. As such, I was excited to finally boot the game up and start my journey through. America's shattered frontier awaits me. The game starts out with an animated cutscene in which a Native American shaman explains that the neighborhood used to be nice before all those fucking whites moved in and the whole place went to hell. Quite literally in this case. Fortunately, in his travels, he comes across one of the good ones, by which I mean dead. This is the main character, aka me, for the remaining duration of this video. He does some ritual that brings my dude back to life and the journey begins. Upon waking up, I was instructed by the spirit of a victim of the tobacco industry that there is a great evil afoot, and I have returned from the great hereafter to defeat it.
But an amalgamation of souls. More important question is, who are you?
This mission will require me to make use of all my skills, but most particularly my abilities in stealth and subterfuge. Blood West can be defined as a stealth game, similar to Thief. They even got the same voice actor for the main character. I love me some stealth games, but whenever I play them I run into one small issue. You see, I am a man from the southern United States. This means that my sense of masculinity is directly tied to how many things I've killed a day. While I'm more than willing to engage in covert operations, I'm completely unwilling to engage in pacifism, so I get pretty impatient and often do stupid shit that gets me killed. Nevertheless, I do enjoy role-playing as the neighborhood burglar, so I'll try to keep my bloodlust in check for the sake of my success. I didn't do a very good job at that though, as within 2 minutes I found an axe and committed my first murder for the day. Luckily, I was able to do it stealthily.
Be gone!
Ho ho ho, I am le master criminal, Fantomas! You cannot catch me if I am dead! Not even out of the training area and I've already embarrassed myself, let's go! Once I made it out of the caves, I was now out into the game's first open world. Blood West's campaign is divided into 3 separate zones, the first of which being a large desert. This area is the one that's the most reminiscent of your classical western setting, with large rock mesas in the distance, saloons, tumbleweed, all that old school John Wayne shit. Aside from the spirits of the anti-Marlboro voting bloc, you have 2 other NPCs in this area that you can interact with. The first that I encountered was the shaman from the intro, who seems like a nice enough dude. He did me good by bringing me back to life. Second is a guy named Jim Hooper, some kind of scavenger or prospector type who came to the barren lands to snag valuable collector's items, but is too chicken shit to actually grab them, so he just gets me to do it. Alongside unique NPCs, unique locations, and a unique atmosphere, each area also comes with unique enemies. In the desert, you may not remember your name, but there's plenty of people who will give you some pain. The Rogues Gallery here consists of your standard shambling dead, who come in several different varieties, floating skull spirits that are annoying as shit to deal with, the birdmen, these gunslinger furries that mow you down if they see you, the human peed, which just makes me uncomfortable, so let's move on, and the prodigal daughter, a shotgun-toting hooker who most certainly does not have a heart of gold. Damn, girl, you must be a baker because you got some cake! Lastly is the Wendigo, a big beefy bitch who spawns those annoying lost soul type enemies if he sees you. Here's a tip. The first time I encountered one, I was curious if he could one-shot kill them in stealth. You get a damage bonus on unsuspecting enemies, so I figured it was worth a shot. Don't be like me, kids. Stealth is super important in this game. I know I already said that, but I really can't emphasize that enough. The trailers for this game made it seem like you could be a lot more aggressive than you actually can, because when I tried to go loud and clear out a room early on, it went very poorly.
Disgusting filth.
Let my ineptitude be a warning to all those who trust marketing. The main goal of this section is to find several cursed artifacts that are somehow connected to whatever evil force has corrupted the region. As you advance through the various quest lines, you get more resources to work with. All throughout this video so far, you've probably noticed all these symbols on my screen. These are basically status effects. All through the game world, you can find a bunch of different little knickknacks that grant you various buffs and debuffs. In addition to this, you can give the no smoking totem gold in order to get a stat buff of your choosing. Whenever you die with your boots on, you also get a debuff, a way for the game to point and laugh at you for being shit at your job. I love this mechanic, but at the same time, it's mean as all hell. Imagine if you were walking down the street and you tripped and fell over, and then this cop came over and punished your poor coordination by breaking both your legs. Alongside being able to find a lot of this stuff in the game world, nearly every NPC in the game also serves as a vendor and can sell you shit if you've done enough prospecting for gold. Since you have a limited pool of funds, you have to be careful what you spend it on. Guns are expensive, so I found it a better investment to just use whatever I found in the world, for the most part. Taking a page from other games of the genre, you can find unique weapons hidden in secret spots at various locations. Since I wanted to live out the cowboy fantasy, my arsenal for most of the game consisted of scattergun. Alongside this, I also carried a revolver for further distances. Stealth is kind of weird in this game. Most enemies have really good hearing with regards to your footsteps, that's what that little bar at the bottom of the screen is, but can't hear for shit when it comes to loud-ass gunshots. That means that I was able to be pretty sneaky even while capping chumps with the big iron on my hip. Ho ho ho, I am le master criminal, Fantomas! You cannot catch me if you are dead! I switched out for different weapons at a few points during my journey, but this was my go-to for most of it. Fun historical fact, revolvers were actually the second most popular firearm in the Old West, unlike in the movies. Most cowboys preferred shotguns because, you know, it's a lot easier to hit shit when your shot splinters off into like 1,000 pellets. With all the previous information in mind, I was able to accomplish my task of finding random bullshit imbued with dark feminine energy and return it to the totem. This opens up the path to the first region's boss, which is a giant fucking plant. Luckily, one of my earliest gaming memories was the plant boss from the original Resident Evil, so I was accustomed to the practice of firearms-based weed whacking. I beat the boss on my first try and moved on to the second region.
Now we out here in the swamp, boy. We gonna hunt us some alligator. Oh shit, the alligator's a goddamn demon.
Alright, so the second region is a swamp, and the first person you meet here is a woman named Annabelle. She wears a mask, which I think is supposed to be corrupting her or something. Her arms look all rotten and atrophied. She also speaks in this thick Southern Belle accent. Here's a little aside about Southern Belles. I live in an undisclosed city, or near one anyway, in an undisclosed state in the American Southeast, as referenced earlier. A few years ago, I had a job that required me to spend all day driving around town, so I'd listen to the college radio station, because it's the only local station that occasionally plays good music. One of their things is they'd get all these indie musicians to shout out the station during commercials, I guess from like Fiverr or Cameo or some shit. And one guy from some band said, "This station listened to by 200,000 people, including 100,000 beautiful Southern belles." I heard that and I was like, fuck is this guy talking about? This place is like a wannabe San Francisco. Half the people in this town ain't even from here. Southern belles, fuck off of my radio. I have no idea what the point of that anecdote was. Oh yeah, I was talking about Annabelle. Jesus, this script is a mess. So for some reason, Annabelle won't talk to you unless you save two people. First is this deformed priest who drinks a lot and makes moonshine for you once you save him. In order to save him, you have to fight through this monster-infested fort to get to him. Luckily, I am an expert at stealth.
Ho ho ho! I am the master criminal, Fantomas! You cannot catch me if... Sacre bleu! I have been discovered! No, no! Do not... Ah! La femme Nikita!
So I got him out of there and then got the next person, some little kid holed up in the basement of a sawmill named Twig or Twen or some shit. I'm not actually really sure what any of this does, but my next quest is to reassemble some dead dude whose parts are scattered all over the area. This took me to every corner of the map, more or less. The most intense part was going into this cave full of deranged cultists who sacrifice babies to Dracula or some shit. I also got a quest to find a cure for the priest and Annabelle's afflictions, but it didn't have a marker on my map, so I don't really give a shit. Got the body parts, did a ritual, put the guy back together, and now I got a homie. After I resurrect my new best friend, I fight the boss of the swamp, this giant hermit snail with legs or something. I died the first time, but the fight is fairly straightforward. You may have noticed at this point that I've traded the revolver for this pistol thing. It holds more ammo and does more damage, so I figured the investment was worth it. After I killed the giant, I talked to Billy the Cadaver, and he convinced me to travel in the mountains with him to escape the influence of the Quitter's Inc. totem. The journey was long and arduous, but our shared undead status gave us both powers of resilience that aided us on the trek until I fell off a cliff and died. Billy did some ritual to bring me back to life again, and now starts Act 3, the final act. The area here is a valley in the middle of a mountain pass. Being the final area, this is without a doubt the hardest to navigate. Extremely treacherous and full of monsters that do all but delete your save file. The worst to me were these things called boo-hags, these skinless demon women that are invincible to regular ammo and make these loud noises when they see you. There's actually a non-hostile one that you can meet that gives you a quest to go to her hideout and get a bundle of human skin that she left there. Once you give it to her, she changes appearance, and this whole episode is profoundly disturbing to me. The other main NPC in this area is the Doctor, this surgeon type who's trying to learn all he can about all the monsters in the area. The main goal of this section is to build a soul totem, one of the very same kind that I've been talking to this whole game, and that I was under the impression we were trying to evade by coming here in the first place. Whatever, I'm just going with it at this point. To create the totem, we need to do a ritual, which requires that I obtain what the undead refers to as a powerful soul. I asked the doctor about this, who tells me that a squad of soldiers went into a chasm in the center of town to hunt down some giant monster. They never returned, but based on the sounds he heard, he's assuming that neither side of the battle is alive currently. I find the chasm and start my descent. This section is the single most painful part of the entire experience. This labyrinthine gauntlet filled with enemies and poisonous clouds that whittle away at your health. The clouds I can deal with. They're easy enough to avoid and they don't do that much damage thanks to this artifact I have, but what really made this section a bitch was the demons. Demons are these annoying enemies that take a million shots to kill and throw these flaming skulls at you that explode on impact and vaporize your health bar. This area definitely seemed intimidating just looking over it from the top, but I was confident. I'd taken everything else this game had to throw me. After all, how bad can this be? Fuck. Oh, god damn it. Son of a bitch. Stupid fucking game. This is making me want to punch a hole in my monitor. Eventually, I just said screw it and went in with a full melee kit. An axe to one-tap enemies or at least do a lot of damage to them, and this dagger that gives me a stealth bonus when I have it out. Both of which were given damage buffs with some items I had found earlier. Even after this, it was still frustrating, but I finally managed to pull it off.
Oh, I am Le Master Criminal, Fantomas. I would rather dip my balls in an anthill than do that shit ever again.
With that out of the way, all that's left to do is go to the ritual site, and never mind, I have to go to 4 different corners of the map to get these animal statues. Good lord, this is a trial. When I said this area was the most dangerous of the 3 zones, I wasn't lying. The devs for this game basically filled a bag full of the most dangerous monsters they could make and emptied the thing all over the map. You can't walk 2 steps without some demon from hell beating the hell out of you and taking your wallet. Good news is that you get some badass guns to accommodate this. At this point, you start getting guns that use long ammo, which gives you an option of either this revolver rifle that was really fun to use and a buffalo rifle that's more skill and accuracy based but feels like you're shooting a nuclear bomb, especially with the explosive ammo. Went to the ends of the earth and got these damn Madagascar Chunko Pops, or whatever the hell they are, and opened up the way to the ritual site. I trek up to the top of the mountain, fairly confident that a boss fight awaits me given all the health and ammo the game is burying me under, and summon the force behind the soul totem. To my infinite surprise, it turns out that the mysterious entity that's been giving me missions to serve an unclear agenda is, in fact, bad. It turns into this giant flesh dragon thing, and what do you know? I was right, it's a boss fight. Here's the thing, this boss fight made me want to break my neighbor's windows. Similar to the chasm, I found this encounter decently frustrating, mostly because the demons that spawned mid-battle kept dunking on me. Originally when I was playing the script out, I was going to be a lot more harsh on this section, but reviewing the footage and also giving it some more thought, and I think I'm actually just bad. I wasted shit tons of ammo shooting at this glowing spot on the boss when I should have been shooting him in the head, plus I think my timing for fighting the demons was just really off, and I don't know, I don't actually think it's the game's fault here. It still pissed me off though. By this point, I just wanted to be done with the game, and I was rapidly running out of money and supplies trying to kill this damn thing, so I was about 5 more attempts away from sending the dev team a profanity-laden email written in the style of the great orator low-tier god when I finally did it. I beat the game!
I am Le Master Criminal, Fantomas. Go fuck yourself, you piece of shit.
After defeating the last adversary and completing the game, I was presented with a pleasant cutscene of the main character witnessing the downfall of humanity as the plague of the barren land spreads back east and destroys what remains of America. Whatever, Canada is right next door, and they got universal healthcare, so who cares? Just move there, nerd. So that's Blood West for you. I enjoyed this game a good bit, and I'll probably do another run of it one day where I try and get all the different legendary weapons. That sounds pretty fun. But for now, I'm gonna move on to the next game and leave things off with a strong recommendation. If you like immersive sims, then you're in luck, because alongside this, there's also several other independent games that have come out recently keeping the genre alive. There's also a shit ton more on the way, so it looks like we're on the cusp of like an indie-led renaissance of the format, similar to what boomer shooters and CRPGs have been going through the past few years. If you're sad that Thief is dead, bummed about the new Deus Ex getting shit canned, or depressed that one half of Arcane is being forced to work on stuff like Redfall and the other half isn't gonna have a game out until 2027, then I would give Blood West a try. You can't stack boxes and you don't see the number 0451 anywhere, but other than that, it's an open-ended experience that gives you a wide variety of ways to live and die in the Old West. Hey everybody, if you made it this far into the video, I just want to say thanks. It means a whole lot. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all your standard YouTube outro stuff that you always hear. And other than that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.